This
Yes.
is Oakley.
Oakley, cute little
He is so cute.
little ears.
Yeah, his ears are always
Does he got a little skin thing here, or? That's
scar from stray,
Gotcha.
being a stray.
Mhm.
Although I think I did not put it on the consult, or the form.
Mhm.
He does have a left leg issue, and I've had it. We've taken X-rays. I have to go to an orthopedic person, but just so if you
Sure.
see him like either skipping off of it or whatever.
Yeah, he sat kind of weird, and then right now when he was walking, he kind of be like stretching a little bit or something.
Yeah, and that's it. Like I asked the vet early on, like, does it hurt him to sit on it? Because his back hock is always very swollen. And she said he can't sit straight, but he'll slide it under him to sit. But he should be able to sit. He's just sometimes disinclined to sit, which is why I asked her. I'm like, is it hurt him or is he just being stubborn?
Yeah. Is he on any kind of glucosamine?
No, he's on nothing. We
Nothing.
put him on anti-inflammatories after. I've only had him
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
So we tried anti-inflammatories to see if it was something that was healing, but then we had an issue with him and another. He took off. He got out of a gated area and sort of took off after another dog, and then that was about a week ago.
Okay.
And since then, it's been like worse than it's ever been. So.
Gotcha.
I know it's going to cost me a lot to go to the orthopedic surgeon, and honestly, my priority was getting his behavior controlled first,
Sure.
and then we'll go to the orthopedic surgeon, like one major expense at a time.
What kind of food is he on?
I have him on Blue Buffalo, just the chicken.
Chicken?
Yeah.
Okay. It might be worth, with the inflammation, like you said, he's on the anti-inflammatories?
Not anymore.
Not anymore?
Yeah, it was only for 2 weeks.
Also, some types of food, can help with inflammation as well.
Okay.
That, and I wonder if maybe glucosamine would help in terms of like just the hip in itself.
Yeah.
These are just like, I have very limited knowledge on nutrition, but I have a
from
nutritionist
experience.
here.
Yeah.
So, if you end up ever thinking about that route, I know because when I hear her talk, she's talking about like these foods are anti-inflammatories and stuff like that.
Okay.
So potentially may help him, who knows, maybe even help prevent a trip to
The orthopedic, yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Like, I think, what the vet said was if we don't see improvements after the 2 weeks on the anti-inflammatories, she was like, we'll have to take him. You'll have to take him. And it was maybe incrementally better, maybe it was like a hair better after the 2 weeks, but then he did this charging off thing, and
Sure.
since then it's only been a week, but still it's been pretty bad since then.
Yeah. It might be worth, even just like an email to see if she thinks it could be a benefit.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
there's a lot of different options.
Yeah.
So I read over the form just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Looks like, so he's half pit, half mammal?
I think so. I need to get one of those DNA tests, but
Sure.
that's what they guessed at the shelter.
Okay.
So I guess his coloring seems about right for the Malinois, and obviously he's got everything else seems very pit about him.
Yeah, no, I see definite pit. I don't know if I'd say Malinois though.
Yeah. I like the coloring on his face when I didn't even know what that was before
Like
I
the
got him.
pattern
I
of
looked
the
it up.
dark
Yeah,
to
the
the-
darker face and like the ears that should
Sure.
stand up more.
Because that's also like Malinois and Shepherds are like,
Right.
I don't
Exactly.
want to say similar, but the people, the canine dogs with the police and everything.
Right.
Because I could see some
He's
Shepherd.
not that smart. Like I keep thinking when I try to train him on things and he's like, seems super confused about things. I'm like, you're supposed to be a smart dog.
Sure. So I saw the activity. I'd taken him to a dog park. He was fine with 2 dogs, then 2 more males came in, and then that's when he got defensive. I'm guessing this was
crazy.
like at a Wiggly field.
It was at Potawatomi up in Rogers Park. Where we live.
Okay. Because when I was reading it, it was like there's a
Separate.
a separate
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Because there's one nearby that there's a smaller caged area within the
Yeah.
dog park.
Yeah, and that's where I went. But it was great. He was so. Knowing him from like this and from being in the house, it was insane. He was way down and like butt up and like attacking the fence, trying to bite through the fence to get at the other dogs. And I was kind of honestly in shock because I've never seen that behavior from him. But then the other owner was like, his hackles aren't up and he's wagging his tail. And I'm like, well, if that's how he thinks he's supposed to socialize, I've got a big problem, because that is not, no one's going to be okay with that, myself included.
Sure.
And then a week ago, which is what really spurred me on to, I reached out to a different trainer at first and had not heard back. And then a week ago, we were in a fenced area. The fence didn't have a clasp, but it was very heavy and sticky. I honestly didn't think he would be able to get out. This little dog came to the fence off leash, which is like a massive trigger, massive. And he went over and was smelling it, realized it was off leash and got hyper focused. I'm trying to call him, and the other dog starts running, you know, along the fence. He starts running and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's heading toward the gate. I start running. 1, 2, 3 pushes, he got through that gate, charged over to the little dog, who was very surprised to see him. I'm running. The little dog turns and starts running, thank God, into the park. He is barreling after him. The little dog turns, stops, and holds his ground and starts barking. And I thought, oh my God, he's gonna die. And he stopped. Like, I don't know if he was surprised that it was a dog. I don't know what happened, but he stopped, and then I was right there, and I was screaming, and he saw me and kind of hunkered, and that gave me just enough time to grab his collar. I feel like he could have hurt the dog. I don't think he ever got his mouth on him. But it was honestly a bit of a blur. I don't know, like, was he playing? I have no idea.
So what it sounds like, that was a hate. So, in my career, I've seen and been in situations and I explain them to people, and people go like, does this really happen? And they go, yes. But they've just never seen it, that they have a hard time believing it. So what you just described, I have a video on my YouTube channel about addressing off-leash dogs, okay? So let me make sure that I heard that correctly. But you're in an enclosed area, there's a gate that you didn't think would open. There's a small dog off-leash on the outside of the gate. He starts running along the gate and eventually pushes that gate open and charges at the off-leash dog.
Yeah.
The off-leash dog then turns and starts barking and he stops.
Yes.
And he looks kind of confused.
After they ran, like there was a chase, and then the off-leash dog turned and stopped, and then that started barking. Oakley stopped, looked a little surprised. I guess I'm personifying, but that's what he stopped. And in that moment I was like, no! So what is that?
So when I get confronted by off-leash dogs, because I started back in Texas, and in Texas, people don't walk their dogs, they just throw them out in the yard, and not everybody has a fence. So I would walk my dogs, and I would be charged by off-leash dogs. And most people's inclination is to run. And instead, I would confront, just like that dog did.
Yeah.
Okay? So what happens is, he goes into territorial mode. Now I'll explain all these behaviors so you understand them. He sees the off-leash dog, and because there's a barrier, it triggers separation, and he's like, this is my territory, and you're a potential threat. Like, that's how, and I'm not saying that's exactly how it works,
I see what you're saying.
but that's kind of typically how it works. So the barrier adds a frustration, okay, because he can't get to the threat. Now in this case, he actually was able to, at least have access to, right?
Well, he got to him.
And what happened is, another dog took off and they were in the chase, and that dog decided, like, I don't have it out. And he's like, I'm gonna try to confront. So when he whipped around and he barked, what happens is he puts confrontation back. And he's so stuck in territorial mode that he's not anticipating to get a response like that. So it does surprise him. And it causes just kind of like this, like you said, like a
hesitation. Yeah.
Now in your case, it allowed you to, of course, obtain them. So when I've done this myself, and you can, on my YouTube channel, you can watch videos of me doing this to dogs.
Oh, okay.
I
watched a lot of videos on your website, but I guess I missed your YouTube channel.
I have a lot of videos now. Now that we're recording everything, we have tons of footage. But if you look up, I think, handling off-leash dog, it'll pop up, and it's like a picture of me like in front of a dog like this, because we were being charged.
Yeah.
So what happens is, when an off-leash dog, like most people, they are approached by one, their inclination, of course, is to run, and that turns everything on.
Right.
Prey,
chase.
Predator prey, exactly. So they're not anticipating that you're going to confront them. So then it kind of puts the brakes on for the dog, and if you keep moving in, most dogs, like 90 8% of dogs will
Back
actually
down.
retreat.
Uh-huh.
Because they're not wanting a fight. They're wanting an easy fight.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is the chase, and I can get you from behind.
Correct. So like, I watched, there's like a self-protection channel on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things he says is he's like, predators are looking for victims, not fights.
Oh, interesting.
So for people, if someone goes to rob a store and someone shoots at them or confronts them, they're actually going to just want to run because it's not going to be easy anymore. Now it's going to be a battle.
Right.
Right.
Now you got to work for it.
Same thing for the dog. So the size doesn't matter.
Okay.
Like, size of the dog doesn't matter. It could have been like a big dog, same size dog, or even like a 10-pound chihuahua. And if they catch him off guard and the energy is big enough, Leash is like, what?
Yeah.
And what would happen after that? Who knows, right?
And thank God we didn't have to find out, because I don't trust him, and I don't know what he would have done, but I don't know.
With the going back to that incident with the 2 dogs and the 2 dogs that entered and then you separated them.
Yeah.
The 2 dogs that he was socializing with, what would you say their energy was like?
Chill.
Okay.
There was one was a black lab, older, super chill. The other one was a bully breed, female, definitely more playful, but kind of like keeping to herself. Like she wanted to chase the ball and he wanted to interact with her, and she was kind of like, I mean, you're fine, but I want to play with this ball. And then and then the other 2 came quickly. He had he went and sniffed the older dog once or twice. He was definitely more interested in the younger one, who was more active. But she wasn't that like into him. He has one friend, the woman who I'm best friends with, and we used to, when I had my other dog, they were best friends. Mavis, she's 7. And we did a super slow, careful, controlled introduction with them. We went on 3 really long walks together without them meeting. Like we just walked next to each other. And then the 4th time we sat them down. Each one of them got a treat. They got to sniff each other. Then we went on another long walk. Fine. Then I was taking care of Mavis like shortly after I got him. So we were like, we got to make sure this works. We brought her over to the house, and everything, like, he's good with her. He's good with her. We tried off leash with them in an enclosed space once, and I think I was very, very nervous.
Was this before or after the incident?
Yeah, this was before last week's incident, but after the dog park incident.
Yeah.
And after the part that I did mention he bit me, but that was a terrible situation.
That was incorrect.
Terribly horrible. That was my fault. But I was very nervous, and so I think honestly he was just playing, but I was on hyper alert, so I kind of pinned him a couple times and got mad a couple times because I was just be normal. But he's fine with her. Like he really is fine with her. I'm pretty nervous about him in general. So, and that's it. Like, so I went on a walk with Mavis, my friend Shelly, who's been helping me with him. And he was so good with her on the leash, like leash walking. And he's so much better with me, but watching him with her, I know that I'm a part of this problem. I'm going to be clear with you about that. Because watching him with her, he was so much better with her than he is with me. And I kept saying, like, he's being so good with you. Like, dogs would go by and he would glance, but he wouldn't have, like, the full body reaction he still has with me. So, I don't know. There's something.
And you said that was the first time you met. So was Shelby?
Shelly. No, she's worked with him 3 times.
Okay.
Just because she's a good friend, and she had dogs, and she likes sort of trying to train dogs, or training them. And he was out of control the first time I met her, and she was like, "Let me have him." And so then, by the time she was done, like a half an hour later, he was walking next to her. I mean, it took a lot of muscle, but he was walking next to her versus with me, he was. So like she's helped me get him into like a heel position, but it's not very controlled. It's not as controlled as I would like it to be, I guess is what I'll say.
Sure. Anything else about Oakley here?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay. I was glad to get information, and I'll explain all the things that you just experienced, kind of breaking down for you.
Yeah.
And just kind of noticing here. So the whole bite on the hand was a redirect.
Totally.
Right. Too much frustration, and then he saw something here, and then they just
I
go
know.
from there.
I know, I know.
So I don't
It was
hold that.
totally my fault, and
Yeah.
I know that, but I also felt like it wouldn't be honest if I didn't tell you about that.
Sure, yeah, no,
But
it's
totally
good
my
to know,
fault.
because, you know, when we're confronting these things, one of the things I always tell people is people tend to trust their dogs too much.
Mm.
And they're like, this dog would never bite me.
Mhm.
And I'm like, you don't know that. I'm like, if they
Put
have
them in the right
they can bite.
situation.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And that, you know, again, he wasn't intending to. It was just too many things going on, and he saw your hand, and he just
Yeah,
responded.
and it was a high stress situation, and that
Correct.
dog was coming at us in an aggressive manner.
Correct.
And had been for some time, so I was like, ew, I thought I was gonna protect us, but
Sure.
that wasn't smart.
So I get that. The whole scenario with the two dogs, and you said they were very chill
Yeah,
personalities, and one was like a senior dog.
yes,
And then you add in a little bit more energy, is, you know, just like with humans, like I'm a very passive person, and some of my friends are loud energies. I can only be with them for so long
mm-hmm,
because it becomes too much.
mm-hmm,
So then I can remove myself, or I need to remove myself as to give a break, right? And kind of like the introvert extrovert type of thing.
Mhm.
And dogs are very similar. Where, you know, low energy, chill dog who has boundaries. When it comes to like, oh, I don't like this energy, this is too much, they'll confront it. Okay, now, if we were to confront something, you know, we might say like, hey, do you mind like quieting down a little bit? You're a little bit too loud, right? Because we're humans. Dogs don't do that. Dogs go, boom, you're too loud, or I disagree with your energy, right?
Mhm.
So it doesn't always mean aggression. Not saying that it, but reading your consultation, it sounded like he started to like keep going, and then you
oh
pulled
yeah,
him out,
I couldn't
right?
stop, someone had to help me hold him to get the prong collar back on, because I
Sure.
couldn't, he was like in 100%, and when he gets in that place, I don't exist anymore. Like
Yeah.
he is just like, I'm going to get that dog, and it was not
Correct.
friendly. It
Correct.
did not feel friendly to me.
Sure. So what happens is, you know, you pull them, you separate them, and now what do we have again?
We've got the territorial, there's an obstacle between us. That's
Yeah.
what as you were telling me that I thought about. I was applying it to that situation.
Correct,
too.
right? 'Cause now
But I
we-
never would have wanted those two dogs to be together. I gotta tell
No,
you,
no,
Jesse,
you were
like,
correct
it would have
to
been
make-
it would have been a disaster.
Correct. You're wise to make that decision, but I'm just explaining why
Yeah,
that happened, right?
Yeah.
Now, when they said his hat was worn up and his tail was wagging, doesn't mean it would have turned out into
Friendly.
a good. Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
mean like, oh, he's just too excited. A hat typically goes up when a dog's unsure about something.
Okay.
Unsure, nervous, a little
Okay.
bit insecure, maybe a little bit of distrust, right?
Uh-huh.
So I would expect a more confident dog to not really show hackles right there, right? So if there was intent to do harm,
Yeah.
he wasn't insecure about it. Okay.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah,
So-
I know what you're saying, but it's also kind of funny.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hurt you and I feel good about it.
Yeah. And because this gets more complicated, right? But that's how, you know, without seeing it,
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
it's a potential.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, I've had dogs that are perfectly social, very friendly dogs, in a similar setting where there's a barrier, and they got out and attacked the dog. And I actually had to give an example, a dog who's the neighbor's dog. They had played with numerous times
Yeah.
over years. And one day the neighbor's dog got into their yard, and their dog, when they opened the door to let them potty, went out and they didn't know, attacked the dog.
Oh my god.
So they're like, how does that work? They
Right.
played.
They were friends
Yeah,
yesterday.
friends. And
Yeah.
I go, well, imagine you woke up in the middle of the night and your neighbor is in your kitchen.
Yeah. And you don't know that right away.
Exactly,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now as a human, you don't just bang, bang, bang and
Right,
kill them,
right,
right?
right.
But you gotta
You
think
might
about-
have the gun or the bat out.
Yeah, right? You're
Yeah.
like, what the hell are you doing here, right?
Yeah.
And then cops and all that stuff. Dogs don't have cops. Dogs live in a kill or be killed world.
Right.
Okay, so that to me, again, just it all makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's how those incidents kind of play out. A couple of things that I've seen here from this guy is one, he's definitely got some overstimulation issues. Okay? He's also got some assertiveness issues, and he just did it right now.
The rubbing on your feet?
No, the towering over me.
Oh,
So I did this earlier where I was like this, and then see how he comes in,
oh. Uh-huh.
right? This isn't like affectionate type. This is claiming. This is, you're my human. Okay.
He drapes himself across me
Yeah.
any opportunity he gets.
Yes. And
Which
this,
I thought, oh, that's really sweet, but honestly, I have thought, I wonder if this is a dominance thing. That has crossed my mind more than once.
yeah. So I'm not saying you have a dominant dog, but what we're gonna see here. So he goes over there, right? And I go like this, and so let's see what he does. See how he steps over? Okay. And then
And now he's gonna get
Now
his
he
body
cowers.
over.
see that?
So he's owning you.
Correct, right? And so this happened at the very beginning. I just did this briefly,
Mm-hmm.
and he did it within seconds.
Mhm.
And I go, okay, right? So here, if I start to put boundaries on him, he's starting to get frustrated now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because he doesn't. I'm gonna correct him.
Yeah.
So you see how he comes in? 1 second. So here, this breaks down. This breaks down why Shelly didn't have a problem and you do.
Because he gets affectionate, but he comes into my space and she hasn't had that experience with him.
Right, so she's had limited interactions, right? So what happens is so you said you noticed these behaviors, you thought he was draping over you, and you thought at first it was affectionate to you, right?
Constantly on me.
But he's claiming you, and he's
Yeah.
saying you're mine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if you belong to him, you give him something to protect.
I see.
Whereas for Shelly, she was like, give them to me.
Mhm.
And that energy of give them to me,
Mhm.
assertive.
Yeah.
And right away, I know the psychology wasn't right, but her energy was.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because when you said she had to muscle him before he started to kind of heal a bit,
Mhm.
and I'll break that down a little bit more. But when you said when he was with you and he was acting one way and you pass it off, he was different,
Mhm.
it's because he owns you. So you give him something to protect.
And I've been trying so hard to be the alpha because I know that he needs to know that I am his protector. I've been trying so hard to do that
Yeah, so even this here,
because he's touching my leg right
touching your
here.
leg, but also he's confronting me, he's right in the middle. So here, I let that play out, and I knew it.
Yeah.
But then right now when I said not
No.
anymore,
Uh-huh.
and I corrected him until he backed off of me.
Right.
So he goes, oh, you're not a human I can claim. I don't know.
Okay.
We're not gonna have that conversation,
Right.
right? And then when I corrected him, I gave a firm correction ultimately, like the 5th one, and he backed away. I didn't have to say sit,
Right.
stay,
Right.
none of that. I just corrected, and that correction said, I disagree with you trying to claim me.
Yeah.
He backs off.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where the whole behavior starts. Because people are like over here, like my dog doesn't like dogs. I'm like, but your dog doesn't like dogs because the
He's
dogs are near you and
yeah.
he's protecting you.
Yeah.
Right? You see how that starts to stack?
Yeah, totally.
So in behavior, there's everything that you're seeing is a symptom,
Right.
right? And then we have the root.
We've got to get to the root, exactly.
Yeah. So this is pretty standard stuff.
Okay.
Now your case is in my words, a beautiful example of primal dog behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because all that stuff that just happened, actually, man, I cannot remember the last time I've had a dog do all this stuff.
so
He's
that
very
textbook.
natural. He's very instinctual. He's very he's an assertive dog.
Yeah.
And with that conversation we just had and how it worked out, all this stuff. This is why I love recording everything now, because I would talk to people about it and they just look at me and be like, what are you talking about?
Here you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here it is, right?
Yeah.
So the way this would work is, I'm assuming you did research on me and read on how I train and my...
I did. I got so excited. I got so excited because, first of all, you were listed on the top 15 best dog trainers. You were the only one who had a professional affiliation with a dog organization, which caught my attention immediately.
Yeah.
But then when I came to your website, I was like, oh my God, he has dogs that look like Oakley. He has dogs that act like Oakley.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas other websites say they do it, but none of their dogs look like him. None of their dogs. There were no pictures of behavior issues that I'm like, So I found you and I was like, oh, I began to have hope. And then I watched some of the video testimonials, and Fritz, you probably don't remember him, but this Fritz dog was a pit bull with his owner. And I was like, oh my God, that's how I want Oakley to be with me when we're outside. That's what I want. So,
and a lot of that,
I know it's a lot of work, and I know it's me. But yes, I did some reading. And I know you like e-collars, which I've always been against, but then watching the videos and understanding you teach people how to train with them and not use them inappropriately,
yeah, and I'll break it
I'm
down,
open to that.
the psychology of it. And he's actually, so yesterday I had 3 pits for consultation, so he's number 4 in a row.
I know.
There's been, I get things in waves, like it'll be a lot of German Shepherds, and it's like a lot of like pitties. I have like 5 Winnies right now.
What, Winnies?
5, so the dog's names are Winnie.
Oh, you have 5, oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like I've never had a Winnie, and in the past 3 months, 5 Winnies.
That's awesome.
So I haven't pit myself, so I'm very familiar with the breed. Pits are great dogs, but pits are also very powerful dogs.
I know.
And here, when we talk about behavior, I cannot change who he is.
And I don't want you to, because I really like him.
Sure,
it's
the personality, right? You don't want to make a robot. But we do want a dog in those boundaries, limits, limitations, and rules. And part of that is consequence. So like right now, because he was sitting in my space, I was like, now I'm going to disagree with you, right? And then I started using the prong collar to correct them. So the prong collar is meant to mimic a dog bite.
Yeah.
So most people, they either let the prong collar work by itself, which that's not how it's meant to be used. It's meant to be applied.
Yeah.
Or other dog owners, they just see it and they think it's going to fix everything, but they don't size it appropriately and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's it's meant to mimic a bite. So when I did those pops, I was biting him, saying you're not going to claim me.
Right.
Okay. And then ever since then, he's actually
he hasn't come over to you at all. I've noticed that too. You've got a big berth around you now.
Correct. And it doesn't mean he doesn't like me.
Right.
It just means he respects my space.
Exactly.
Okay. So the way I go about a case like this is it's partial obedience and then partial behavior. Think of obedience as education, math, English, science, sit, stay, come. Think of behavior as morality. Don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat, don't jump, don't bark, don't bite. Okay? So obedience has nothing really to do with the behavior. Just like, so you can have a person who's very smart, but be a bad person. And someone who's a very good person who is not very smart.
Yeah,
right?
I'm with you.
Same thing for dogs.
Yep.
So I've had dogs that know every trick in the book, but are super leash reactive, right? So that's where there's a bit of a gray area. There's a bit of a gray area, and where obedience can affect behavior, but it's not the obedience, it's the discipline. Okay, it's the consequence for not doing something or for doing something incorrectly. Okay, so in a case like this, the way I work is I assess everything. There's stuff that I know you need. There's stuff that you need, stuff that you think you need, and stuff that you want, right? And then there's him
that
as
makes
well.
me sound really selfish, but yes.
Yeah. And it's the same thing for him, right? He has needs and all that stuff as well. So here, the first thing we have to cover is the leash walking. Okay, the leash walking is what's going to help fix these problems. Okay, so you see how he keeps wandering around, right? And he's not. The only time he's laying down was when I corrected him. And that was more of a submissive leg. Right. That was more of a I'm not a threat to you leg. Right. As opposed to a lay down because he's relaxed. And he keeps pacing around. Right. He's been at this for all about 10 to 15 minutes now. And that's part of the problem. His brain does not have the ability to settle. Okay. Yesterday, all 3 pits that I had consultation with, same problem. Okay, this is one of the most common problems that I get is overstimulation. Overstimulation is simply the lack of boundaries and too many options. Okay, so his options here, I have this big old room. There's all these scents. What's on this shelf? What's over here by your feet? Oh, can I tower you? Oh, can I claim you? Oh, can I try to demand attention from you? Hey mom, what's going on, right? Those are all the options in his brain. And what happens is the dog becomes frustrated because it doesn't know when to turn off. Okay, and then that frustration can become reactivity. It can become aggressive responses towards dogs. And the thing about dogs is when they express emotions, if you will, it's almost always mouth-based. Licking, chewing, biting,
He's been so mouthy. It's the first thing I tried to correct right away is like everything was mouth, and it's so much better, but he's so mouthy. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
That's how he expresses frustration, because that's coming from his frustration.
Okay, that's interesting. He's gotten a lot better, but I thought it was because I was doing such a great job training him.
Honestly, the mouthiness is literally like a 5-minute problem.
Okay.
And not to undermine what you've done.
No.
But when you speak dog,
yeah,
it's that quick.
Okay.
Right? So like I speak dog, so that's why he's backed off.
Yeah.
Right? And then he had a thought of coming into my space, and right away I disagreed with it, and he said, I'll just stay back here. Okay? That's speaking dog.
Yeah.
So the way I would go about resolving this is we need to heal.
Yeah.
We're going to need a recall or common cold. Okay? Those are the two most important things.
It would be great if he came, in the house, he comes when I call him. When we're outside, forget about it.
Correct.
Forget about it.
We need to make that happen.
Please.
Those are 2 obedience things that I know you need.
Yes.
Okay? I'm assuming you're going to want to learn how to socialize him.
Really badly.
Okay? Now the socialization, I can't make him a dog park dog.
Yeah,
dog
and
parks
that's
is too many
okay.
variables.
That's okay.
But when you said the one dog where you took 3 long walks and blah, 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 that's actually the correct way. Okay? Because what you're doing there is you're building a relationship.
Right. A safe, boundary-filled relationship.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then eventually he goes, hey, I've seen this dog X amount of times. There's never been a problem.
Yeah.
And as you slowly start to kind of close that gap and allow him freedom with that dog, like off leash and stuff,
Yeah.
it's kind of like with humans. You know, we don't just become best friends and trust someone with our life immediately.
Right.
It's time,
Right.
It's you hang out and you know each other for days, and you have conversations and phone calls, and you do things together. And over time, that friendship becomes you form a greater bond.
Yeah.
Same thing for dogs.
Yeah.
Now, some dogs, yes, they're capable of being dog park dogs, and they'll play with any dog, blah, blah, blah. But that's not every dog.
Yeah, as long as he, like I know dogs are social beings, so I don't want him to be like miserable and unhappy if he doesn't get to see other dogs. But if he has a couple dogs who I know I can trust him with, that's good for me, if that's what he needs. Or if I know how to have him in space with other dogs so that he's comfortable, that's good for me. I need him to get along with Mavis. My parents have a dog he'll see twice a year. I need him to get along with her.
And that's more realistic because he would see her repeatedly.
Yeah.
And he would also coexist with her.
Yeah.
Right? So like with people, like the longer you spend time with someone, the faster your bond grows.
Yeah.
Right? But if he sees a dog, you know, once a year for an hour,
yeah,
it would be a long time.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So that's all feasible, that's all realistic. Okay? So those are the things that I go, that's what I feel you're needing. Okay? And then the rest is kind of dictated by what you're wanting.
Yeah.
So the reason why they heal is so important here is when it comes to e-collar, and I'll explain what e-collar is if you put an e-collar on a dog and you press the button and they feel it, you'll see the dog start to move around. And almost always they'll try to move away because it's something foreign to them, they don't understand it. So since e-collar makes dogs move, we use a moving command to heal, to teach them how it turns on and how it turns off.
Oh, I see.
So then it becomes more so a line of communication.
Okay.
So then we start to build off of that. So yesterday I had her video just went up on my YouTube. Her name's Rosie. She's a cream golden retriever, or cream retriever. I think 9 months old. Very anxious, very similar, overstimulated, cannot settle down. And within 10 to 15 minutes, the dog was calm as can be, asleep on the ground. Okay?
After the e-collar?
After the e-collar, yeah.
Shut up.
So, and you can see this real time.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't edit stuff. I just go, here it is, so you
Yeah.
can understand it. Is when we're remoting, and I call it a bite on button, is we're eliminating options. So then if everything else is not an option anymore, the dog goes, I know.
Yes, yes.
I can just
Yeah, it's like
chill.
hyperactivity, and then you give them like a drug that quiets their brain down.
Correct. But a dog's drug is discipline.
Right.
Because dogs bite each other. It's in their genetic code to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens is when people get puppies,
He almost sat down. He almost sat down.
something that's probably Maddie, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that 2 months when people get their puppies, people think I can't correct my puppy because it's a puppy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you absolutely can.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a video on the internet, I don't know if you've seen it, it's pretty famous. There's a room with like 8 to 10 lab or golden retriever puppies. Okay, they're like 2 months old, they're yipping and crying. The mom comes in to nurse. They all swarm her and they're jumping and they're barking and stuff. and she starts to growl and snap at them. And within 30 seconds, you just see them all leave her alone and go to sleep and calm down. And people are like, oh my God, that's me.
Yeah.
No.
No,
Like, that's
nature.
Mother Nature, right? But the thing is, they're 2-month-old puppies, and she said, you're not going to behave this way.
She put boundaries in place.
Correct, right?
Yeah.
So when I have a puppy, our puppies here are calm because we don't allow nonsense as young as 2 months. Because if the mother can do it, then why cannot
Exactly.
me?
Yeah.
Right? So what happens is when we get these dogs, people are excusing things, right? And then the dog is going unchecked or unbit.
Right.
And it
they
creates
think it's
problems.
okay. Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's where overstimulation tends to come from.
Okay.
It's almost always just lack of boundaries and too many options. Okay? So the way I would expect this to play out is first we start with the heel. Okay, there's the first class. It's almost always the first class that I do. And I see what does it fix. Okay? I see you week 2. I ask you questions. How's his energy been? How's his behavior in the house? Right, blah, blah, blah. And you'll say, man, Jesse's so much calmer. Like, he's really relaxed on the leash. He's not on alert, blah, 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 right? Or you might say, like, hey, Jesse, he's so much better, but I still struggle with the alertness or something, right? I go, no problem. We're going to work on the second half of heel. We're going to tweak some things. We're going to play with a couple of numbers. I'll see you in a week, right? Week 3, where are we at, right? And then you're my feedback. That's what dictates how I move, okay? As long as all that's going well, by the 3rd class, if you're wanting to socialize him, we can work on socialization, okay? Otherwise, the next thing I work on is recall, because that's the next important thing, okay? To give you more time to get him in the right headspace, because he has to be in the right headspace here in order to make the social or help the socialization move more smoothly. Okay? So it can be as early as the 3rd class, or you can push it to any class after that. So with the e-collar, are you familiar with the technology? Do you know what it is?
Well, I know that it can vibrate, and then I know that it's got 2 metal prongs, I think, that give a varying levels of like a shock. That's about all I know.
Okay, so it's not a shock. So it's not like being tased. It's not like sticking your finger in an outlet. It's not electrocution. So it's what I call electric, but not electricity. Finally, only took like 25 minutes.
Amazing.
But you'll probably get up in like 2 to 5 minutes.
But like this is great that although I know he's guarding, like the fact that he laid down feels like a big win.
And this, of course, when we get him in the right headspace, would happen almost instantaneously. Okay? So you're not literally shocking your dog. Okay? So they use the technology on humans. Have you ever been to a chiropractor or physical therapist?
Physical therapist?
Have you ever had e-stim or TENS therapy? It's the machine that moves your muscles.
No,
okay.
no.
So if you go to a chiropractor or physical therapist, they have this machine called e-stim or a TENS pin. And there's little things that they put on the muscle, and it'll stimulate the muscle to cause it to flex.
Oh, that's gotta feel weird.
Okay? So like if you ever seen those app commercials where it's like, work out while you're watching TV?
Yeah,
that's e-collar.
Okay.
Well, that's the same technology.
Yeah.
So it's just a muscle stimulator. It's not actually electricity going through your dog's body.
Okay.
So the reason why I don't use words like shock is because it puts that notion in your head.
Yeah.
Right? That term came from older models of collars, only had like, for instance, 5 levels, whereas ours has 127 levels.
Okay. Wow.
So 5 and 127 are the same. But I have 122 more divisions.
Variants and
exactly. So
or levels of gray.
I can fine tune it.
Yeah.
So whereas before, 2 to 3 could be a very sizable jump and dogs giving big reactions, right? So there's that, and also in the dog training world, there's a lot of drama where you have like the positive food-based only trainers, and trainers like myself.
Yeah.
So they use words like shock and torture and pain and blah 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 to prevent you or dissuade you,
scare you
from using these tools, right?
Yeah, I loved on your you have a long video about Lake. It kind of shows your philosophy, and I love how you're like, this is not aggression, and Lake is like barking aggressively at you, and then you're like, this is aggression, and then you show yourself walking into the apartment and the dog like, and I was watching that, I was like, yes, and so I started to say reactive with him. When I tell other people about it, I'm like, he's really reactive when I had been saying aggressive.
Correct.
So it's all language.
Yes.
And using it appropriately.
Correct.
Not in a scary way.
Correct. Because so when I come in, the word aggression and dominance as well gets thrown out very easily.
Mm-hmm.
And some trainers use aggression as a means of selling people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, your
Yeah.
dog's aggressive?
Right. Oh, let me
$3,000.
fix this for you.
Exactly,
Yeah, exactly,
right?
exactly.
And I come in, and that's why we have the suit, and I go, your dog is not aggressive, your dog is reactive, so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
As to help educate people to kind of really do the research and, of course, learn the difference.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah, the positive training does not work. It won't work as well with him outside because in the house he's all about the food,
Mhm.
but outside he
There's
couldn't
too
care
many
less. He couldn't care less.
yeah, it's super common. It's positive only has the lowest of the lowest ceilings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In order for positive to work, you have to have a dog that's food driven, doesn't care about the environment,
Mm-hmm.
Easy to work with.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Super cooperative.
super cooperative,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all these things, right? Whereas for me, I get the uncooperative,
Yeah.
and I make them cooperative.
Exactly.
Right?
Like I need tools because I could be holding out a hot dog outside,
Mhm.
and he still would have pushed through that fence, and he still would have gone after that, chased after that dog. There was
Correct.
no stopping it.
Correct. So these tools, prong and e-collar, the reason why they're so effective is because aversives are meant to stop things,
Mm-hmm.
right? So your prong collar is both a teaching tool, you can teach obedience with it, but it's also an aversive where you can stop behavior with it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if he's like lunging and barking, if it's not that intense, I can correct him like I did here,
Mm-hmm.
and that may possibly stop the behavior because I bit him
Right.
for being reactive.
Right.
Okay, in a lot of cases, the prong collar, if he's like at a 20 in intensity, and you give a harsh 10, 10 would never match 20. So now we're not going to get anywhere.
I see.
So that's
I
where
see.
e-collar comes into play.
I see.
Okay,
Yeah.
so e-collar, I mean, I've essentially built my career on that tool.
Mhm.
It's the tool that I've been using for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
All my dogs over 6 months that are clients of mine train on e-collar.
Mhm.
Okay, and the reason is, if there's loads of methods out there, and e-collar has the closest to 100% you can get, right? And we're talking about 90% plus.
Mm-hmm.
And every other method is, prong collar is good, but the thing is, once you take the leash off, you're stuck,
Yep.
right? And then food, well, it's, you're in the single digits there.
Yep.
It's like, why would I waste time and people's money using methods that I know aren't even close to 100,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna use the
What
one
works.
tool that I know will get me as close to 100 as possible.
Yeah.
And this includes emergency situations like, oh crap, he got out somehow. I have contact,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. Yeah. The long arm of the law, so to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, the first thing, like I said, we teach the heel, what does it fix, so on and so forth. So what would dictate the length of time and like just cost is really how much you want to get done,
Yeah.
okay? So I have 3, 6, 9, and 12-week programs. You're like in the 6-week plus,
Yeah, I
okay?
think so too.
So that's 1 day a week for an hour. If we did 6 classes, again, I prioritize. We need 2 for heel, we need 2 for recall. That leaves us 2 for behavior.
Mhm.
Okay. If everything's progressing like I hope it does, it should be a pretty easy, just or straightforward, boom, 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 right?
Mhm.
And then we can work on the socialization because that's really just educating you on how to do that
Yes.
correctly. Showing you, we would use another dog and all that stuff.
I was gonna say, if I could practice the leash walk with another dog at some point, because he's, or maybe that's the behavior side, but he's very difficult when there's another dog.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we work on all that stuff, okay? If you did 9 to 12 weeks, it simply means we cover more obedience, more control,
Mhm.
okay?
If I say 6 weeks, but then things are going well or things are not going well, however, whatever the situation is, I can still tack on more after
You can
that.
buy more classes, it's just your per class rate would be more expensive.
Yeah, I see what you're
Okay?
saying. Yeah.
So if you say, for instance, Jesse, I want 12,
Yeah,
you get a lower per class rate because
I
you're
see.
saying up front, I commit to 12.
I see. I
If
see.
you know, it's kind of like buying like
Yeah,
a can of
bulk,
soda
in bulk.
versus like a 2 liter, right? Like
Yeah.
a can of soda could be $1 and 2 liters $2. And you're like,
Yeah.
how does this make sense? It's because of that whole,
Yeah,
the process.
right.
So yes, you can absolutely do that. I don't care.
Yeah.
I know
In the
for-
long run.
Yes,
Mhm.
I know 6 classes, or I feel fairly confident that I know with 6 classes what I can get done. Okay,
Mhm.
it's just like I said, if you want more stuff, it just takes more time.
Right, right.
To give you like an easy kind of understanding of how each program works, think of the 6-week as I walk my dog and I take him out to like an enclosed area, like a dog park, and that's it. Then I take my dog for walks, we go to the dog park and go to restaurants, and then
That's
there's
9 weeks? I
That's
like
not-
the restaurants, because those are gonna open at some point.
at some
summer's
point, right?
coming.
Hopefully. And then the 12-week is, you know, I do all that stuff. I go hiking. We go to my friend's house. I do almost everything with my dog, right? Is that's the full kind of off-leash control. Okay, so there's 6 commands. Sit, stay, down, come, place, heel. So the
Come, place?
Place. So this dog right here, that's what we call place.
Huh, okay.
So down would be lay down, don't move. Place is go here, don't move. Okay, so down is very strict. It's lay down, that's it. Sit is this, nothing else, right? Place is, I don't care what you do, but don't step off of the area.
I see.
Okay, so the dog can sit, stand, and lay down. Okay, so it's more lenient, but you get the same function of stationary control. Okay, so with the 12-week program, we get as close to the off-leash as possible. You have everything you need, but you have to still practice to build it to that degree, right? Because you have to factor in the environments you practice in. If you're practicing in bland environments, your training's only good in bland environments. You'll want to start exposing yourself and him to other things, right? Squirrels, rabbits, dogs, skateboarders, like all that stuff.
Interestingly, birds. We've seen squirrels and rabbits, he doesn't bat an eye. Birds, and he's all about it. It's so weird.
Sure.
So
every
weird.
dog has their thing. You know, there's some dogs that could care less about prey animals.
I know, it's so weird.
Yeah. So it just comes down to what you want.
Yeah.
But I know with what I'm looking at, I feel
6
fairly
minimum.
confident 6.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the rest is just kind of icing on the cake.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
In terms of the collar you would need, I've worked with a lot of pitties in my life.
Do I need to write this down?
No,
Because I won't remember if I...
we'll send you this info.
Okay.
I've been doing this for a really long time. I worked with a number of pits. An aggressive pitty or pit mix is different than like an aggressive German Shepherd. Okay, or a reactive pitty versus a reactive German Shepherd. They're very different animals. Okay, and it's just the bully in them. How do you say, like pit bulls, bull terriers, Rotties, like all those very powerful breeds.
Yeah.
They're a different being than a reactive dog. You know?
Yeah.
So same issue, different style, which is different intensity.
Yeah.
Okay? I would just suggest you get the 1900S Black Edition.
Okay.
It's meant for 70-pound dogs and over.
70? Okay, he's not 70.
I know.
Oh, okay. I can't put on that much weight that fast.
No. He doesn't need to be 70 pounds. So, have you heard the saying, it's not about the dog and the fight, the dog?
Yes.
Okay, so with pitties, like when you said he's kind of out there, right? You're completely absent to him. We may very well not need that level of power, but it's like, do we want to gamble and then waste hundreds of dollars, right?
Yeah.
And it's literally just like $30 to $50 more than the collar I would recommend for him. And you won't have the worry of what happens if I don't have enough power.
Exactly.
Because it does get
Because
more
then I'm
powerful.
screwed.
Yes. And the only difference is, since it's more output, you'd have a lower number than on a different model.
Right.
Okay? It's a 1 mile range, so plenty of range for the standard family pet.
Sure.
It's a fully waterproof system, both your control and the receiver.
Okay.
So you can go swimming in it and all that stuff.
Okay.
Also, like if something were to happen, you know, maybe an off-leash dog charges you and you get a confrontation, you have a tool that can allow you to disengage him from that situation. Okay? So people tend to, they always think like, oh, my dog didn't do that. I'm like, but you have to think worst case scenario.
Right.
Okay?
Oh yes. No,
So that's the one. That's the only one that I'd recommend for you.
Okay.
And
that runs about how much, just on that exterior shock?
Runs about $325-ish with tax. Okay.
Okay.
Now they do last a very long time. So you'll find.
And you have a battery replacement? You don't have to buy a whole new thing.
It's a rechargeable lithium battery, much like your cell phone.
Okay.
Over time, that's like the most common thing that I get is the battery does wear out.
Yeah.
2-3 years later, they're like $15-20. You go to the website, you order the one that you need,
Okay.
you open up your collar, you plug it in, close it up, you're good to go.
Okay.
I've had my collars for 8 years.
Okay.
No issues. Okay.
And maybe we'll get into this later. He wears this in the house as well? Or? No. Okay.
So the most common question that I get is, when does the e-collar go away? Okay.
Never.
When you need it, correct.
Yeah.
When you need it. So what that means is when you're on a walk with him, if you're gonna go socialize him, if you're gonna go to the park, who knows, maybe you get him to be dog park friendly to a degree, right?
Right.
Is in all those settings, you can't account for life, so it's like you have it, right?
Yeah.
And the analogy I give is, do you drive?
Yeah.
You do? Do you go on the expressway?
Yeah, not too often, but yes.
You've been to the expressway?
Yeah.
Do you go the speed limit?
No, do not. This was in your Fritz video. And I've seen 3 cops since then, and I'm like, it's so true.
Yes.
I behave better when there's a patrol car.
Yes.
And you, in the Fritz video, you said that, and it kind of made me giggle because I was like, that's really true.
Yes.
It's so true.
It's opportunistic behavior.
It's so true.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, opportunistic behavior comes from survival instinct. Okay. So if there's a pond of water and there's an alligator in that pond, right? And the animals know it's there, they won't drink water because there's an obvious threat, right? As soon as they see that threat leave, everybody comes to drink water. Okay. Opportunistic behavior. Okay. So here for dogs, and he's primal, right? He's gonna go, oh, that collar's not on.
Right.
I can get away with not going to speed limit today, right?
Yep.
The collar's on. Oh, the cop is here. I gotta behave myself, right?
Yeah.
Or at least behave better. So it's nothing good or bad because it's just the way things are. It has nothing to do with my skills as a trainer. It has nothing to do with the time you committed. And you can go on YouTube, and I'm sure you can find dogs that are really well trained without e-collar, right? But then I look at the environment. They're usually in a bland environment, nothing going on. A room in here like this, right? Or they're like out at the park, but again, there's nothing going on around them.
Yeah.
Or they just happen to have a dog that is crazy for a frisbee or something.
Right.
But now you have the frisbee, right?
And that's your control.
Exactly.
Now, honestly, and maybe in 10 years, but he is so unpredictable right now. In the house, I can imagine taking it off in the house because he's super chill in the house. He's super chill in the house, except unless it's the guarding behavior I need to fix. But it's outside.
Yeah, because there's more stimuli.
It's tons.
Right, so when you get an overstimulated dog, it has a really hard time. Like, he had that much of a hard time settling
In this room. In this room.
Okay?
Yeah.
Just think about that, right?
Yeah.
Now you take him out in the real world where there's thousands, if not
Right.
millions of stimuli.
Right.
It's overwhelming.
Right.
And that's where frustration seeps in and we get reactivity and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay? So, question?
Yes. I want to make sure I ask this before I forget because I suspect our time might be short. But I was watching videos and they have this thing called a flirt stick for these bully dogs, and I used my Chuck It with a ball in it to sort of like try that out with him, and it was the most intensely focused I've ever seen him be on something. But then I was fearful that if I have not bought a real flirt stick, but I was like, boy, it gives him quick exercise. He seems to love it, but I didn't want to feed into that like prey-based behavior. So I guess I'm asking for advice before I've officially paid you, but like, is that bad for me to feed into that sort of?
Yes and no. Yes, if there's no control.
Okay.
Right, so it's like playing tug with your dog. Right, like a lot of traditions don't do it, it makes your dog aggressive. It doesn't make your dog aggressive. If you don't have control,
If when I say
creating
stop,
intensity.
it's over.
So my pit loves stuff. Like my pit, I'll grab her jowls and I'll like go like this with her and just growling, you know. She is very mouthy and like aggressive.
Yeah.
But that's how we play.
Right.
But once I say we're done, she does this within a split second.
Yeah.
I have that level of control.
Okay.
So I have nothing against the floor pole. We have some here that we actually just bought for our puppies and stuff.
Yeah. He's really good at it. He like it's the only time I've seen him super focused on something. I mean, I've noticed his like attention span is everywhere. That flirt stick was a winner.
Yes.
But I wasn't sure.
Sure. So like, let's say you know, if you did the 6 and everything's going well, you know, like that can be a class. Like it's a simple establishing the control stuff is simple.
Okay.
Once you understand the concept, and e-collar makes things very quick.
Straightforward.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's very much just logic.
Okay.
So once you understand dogs and pressure and biting and all that stuff, it's very simple.
Okay.
So in terms of how far I can take you, I can only take you as far as you're willing to go. Right? So like, let's say for whatever reason the reactivity is pretty intense, okay? And I tell you he needs 100 to stop the reactivity. And when you come back, I'm like, how was it? You're like, Jesse, it was a shitty week. He said, lots of reactivity. I go, well, how high did you go? 55.
Yeah.
55 is 45 short of 100. Right?
Yeah.
We're not going to get anywhere.
Right.
Right? So if you just take what I say and trust and just go, we're going to get there.
Right.
And I get cases where I think it's going to be easy and ends up being very difficult. I get cases where I think it's going to be very difficult and ends up being very easy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I just don't know until we start working.
Right.
Okay? One thing I will suggest is if we're going to socialize him, you're going to want to muzzle condition him if he's not muzzle conditioned already.
I haven't done it.
Okay, so it's very simple. Maria will provide you with this information as well. We have a page on my website that we send to people, and it shows you how to muzzle conditioning using dog food and everything like that.
Okay.
It also should provide you with the brand that we recommend, like 25, 35 bucks.
Okay.
You can actually even find this 15 to 25
Okay.
for the brand that I recommend. It just depends on the market at the
Yeah.
time. But the reason why that is one, it takes off the anxiety.
For him?
No, for you.
Oh, for me, I was like,
Yeah.
because then I know he can't hurt anybody.
Yeah, you know, it reduces liability. It makes you feel more at ease. You don't have to feel so tense, right?
Yeah.
Plus, if we're going to use my dogs or other dogs,
Right.
you know, it would be irresponsible for you to take precautions, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to want to start that process as soon as possible.
Okay.
Most people put it off because they're like, oh, yeah, a couple of days. Some dogs can take days, some dogs can take months. Okay?
Yeah.
So we definitely want to start that process.
Okay.
And it happens where like I have a dog right now that had to train right away. They did not have time to muzzle condition, and we're having to do what we call force conditioning, which is you use the e-collar. And now this is an extreme case. Okay. But it's not pretty. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll make it work.
Yeah.
But then for
It's
the
not
owner, it's
ideal.
kind of like, right? Because for us, it's just a day in the office.
Right.
So I definitely highly suggest you muzzle condition. You get the muzzle. It's a basket style, so you can wear it. You can drink water. You can eat food. You can wear it extensively. You can open his mouth. You can pan appropriately. It's meant for extended wear. And all you do is just take a Ziploc and put it in, and then throw his kibble in there and let him eat from it. And you just keep repeating this every day, as many times a day as you can.
Okay.
And we build to the point where he can wear it and ideally not care about it. Like, it's just like another thing that he wears.
Okay.
And we will send you a video or videos on how to do this. Okay. It's not worth a class.
Okay.
So you get that, and you can even go, I think Petco or PetSmart may carry the brand itself, otherwise Amazon has them for like 15, 25 bucks.
Okay.
So you're gonna want to start that process, and then Maria will get in contact with you. She'll send you a breakdown of the pricings for each 6, 9, 12-week program. She'll send you the link to the collar that we recommend. She'll also send you the training resources page with the brand of muzzle that I recommend. And then you just get all that stuff situated. When you buy your collar, I do suggest that you read the manual, that you also test it out. Don't use it on yourself or the dog. I mean, if you want to test it on yourself, that's fine.
Yeah.
But don't do anything with the dog. And it should go in, there's a dial, it should go in increments of 1. Okay, so it's an LED screen, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to 127. So if you just turn it a tiny bit and it kind of jumps all over the place, you have a limit.
Okay.
You're gonna want to return that.
Okay.
You just let us know, hey, I got the collar, it's not a good collar, I have to exchange it.
Okay.
And just push back. So this way you don't waste the class.
Okay.
Because we honestly can't do anything with it.
Without it, yeah.
Okay.
And then, do I need to measure, like I measure around his neck up by his ears for the size of the collar?
Not for the collar, it's one size fits all.
Oh, it's one size fits all. Oh,
Correct.
okay.
Now, I'm probably gonna recommend that you do a prong. That prong, I believe, is the correct size. Looks like a 3 millimeter. But I would suggest you do a Herm Springer. The Herm Springer has a plate in the middle, so that see how this is kind of curved around?
Yeah.
The plate in the middle actually helps centralize the pressure and keep it straight, so it's not twisting like this.
Okay.
And those can run anywhere between $15 to $25 as well.
Okay.
I normally don't do prong and e-collar, but when I do it with power breeds, it's like how do you say, it gives you, it's power steering, if you will. Okay, so in case if you turn the corner and there's a dog and it's like a bad interaction, right away you got the prong while you're trying to kick in with the e-collar.
Yeah.
I do train for realistic scenarios, meaning, it's not just him. It's a lot of information for you. So, with the recordings and the videos and stuff, 1, it's education for everybody else, but then 2, if you ever forget anything, you just go back and watch your own video.
Okay.
So you always have that resource there as well.
Okay.
Any questions or concerns?
No, the flirt stick was kind of a big one I had coming in, and everything else you haven't told me anything in terms of the training process that I didn't have a sense of from watching the videos.
Yeah, it's just pressure on, pressure off concepts. I mean, if you watch a lesson 1, lesson 1's always great to watch because no one knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you want to watch, like, if you saw like the video where it's me standing in front of the thing, right? Just look up Lake and watch lesson 1.
Okay.
And that'll give you a very good idea of how this is supposed to work.
Okay.
Okay. So her lesson 1 is actually really good to watch because you see her come in very high anxiety, very stressed, very reactive. And then by the end of class, she's chill. And then you see me kind of doing this kind of snapping thing. She could care less.
Okay.
Because she's been de-escalated.
Okay.
Correct. So, and then we just kind of build on things, okay? Last thing would be, we are working with an animal, so there's no real guarantees. Like I said, sometimes I think it's going to be easy and it's super difficult. Sometimes I think super difficult and super easy.
Right.
When it comes to socialization, can't make my dog park dog.
Right.
But socializing with like a couple of dogs, friends' dogs, family dogs, things like that is realistic. Yeah. Because he would see those dogs again on a repeated basis. Okay, so
and I like the idea of being able to be at a restaurant and have him next to me and not like freaking out or reacting when another dog walks by.
Correct. Yeah. And then that would just, be, if you know you're wanting more, like I gave you the...
That's the 9.
Yeah. 6 is the behavior stuff.
Right. The
essentials, the kind of bare bones. And then the 9 or 12 is like, well, you know what? Why not?
Right.
People's ceilings tend to be pretty low when they come to see me because either previous trainers have not worked or they're just thinking like, my dog is so bad, we're not going to get that far.
Right.
And then they're like, holy crap, like...
How far can we go?
Yeah. And e-collar, the psychology that I put behind the e-collar and how I use it is essentially what allows us to get to that point.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So again, as long as we do the homework, shouldn't be an issue, but won't really know until we actually get started.
Yeah, I understand.
Anything else?
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm sorry, just one more. Should I be changing his behavior toward me? Like starting
you can try to
now?
correct him like you saw me do earlier, but that takes a little bit of technical skill.
Yeah, and I've been doing corrections, maybe not with that, but with other things, and it's like he thinks it's a game. And so I don't know.
Like what, like water bottle or something?
Well, no, like when he was being mouthy, he'd be like, no. And then he's like swats at me again. And I'm like, no, and I'll do this on his neck to be like, stop it. I don't seem to get.
So the reason why that's escalating is, have you ever heard a dog say no to another dog?
No.
Right? Because that's human language. Right? Dogs say no by biting each other. Now, when you said this, I'm assuming Cesar Milan.
Yes.
Okay.
Lots of hours and not that much. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, Cesar Milan takes. I've been doing this for 10 years. I believe Cesar Milan methodology, but you have to know how to correct correctly.
Right.
Using the method in order for it to be effective. So, and also, since he's a power breed, even if you were doing a good correction, physically, remember when I said if he's at a 20 and you're at a 10,
right.
you're not going to match him.
Right.
Same thing with the hand, you can only do so much in terms of intensity.
Yes.
That what happens is he knows you're trying to correct him, and he's...
But not effectively.
Yeah, he's not taking you serious, so instead he's going whatever.
Yeah.
He's shrugging you off is what he's doing essentially.
So I won't change anything until we start until we officially start.
Yeah, just do what you've been doing.
Yeah.
Avoid situations and whatever.
Yeah, we're not going back to that. We're not going back to the park or the closed space. So we're running out of spaces, so we do a lot of walking.
Yeah,
a lot of walking.
But otherwise, this pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, I knew he wouldn't be your worst by far, but for me, the next, 15 years, I need him to, I want to trust him. I want to feel comfortable going outside. I want him to enjoy our walks. And I feel like right now he's just on hyper alert.